Well, here we are, week 2 of the cruise news in review. We got a lot of things that kind of occurred this week. It was quite an amazing week of cruise news, and there's a lot of things out there that we just need to talk about because it could affect your next cruise. So let's think about this, right? We had a fire. We had some new health protocols for Disney and MSC. We had Disney bringing back a beloved event that's back to kind of normal than where it was before. NCL christens a brand new ship, and they had a great show with Katy Perry with a polar bear. There was also Virgin Voyages announcing a new loyalty program, which we're going to get into a little bit about what's going on with that because it's quite interesting. There was also another announcement from Royal Caribbean about how they're going to handle internet on their ships from this point forward. And finally, if that wasn't enough, Carnival decided to implement a curfew. So let's go through each one of these things that happened last week in cruise news. Stay tuned. How you doing, everyone? This is Rob from Cruise Sea-kers, and as I said before, we had a crazy week in cruise news. But you know what? We're only going to go over the things that are quite important to kind of know because it might affect your cruise. First off, let's talk about a little bit of a spat Royal Caribbean has been having with fire. Not too long ago, on September 1st, Quantum of the Seas during an Alaska cruise had a relatively, I would call, significant fire event. Usually, fire events are quickly subdued pretty fast. They're very quick about these things, but this one was a little bit more extensive. Prior to the one with Quantum of the Seas, Royal had a problem in France with Wonder of the Seas with an electrical fire that was pretty much taken care of immediately, but this one was a little bit more significant. There was 2 Bravo calls. Bravo calls on a cruise ship means there's a fire. So when a Bravo call is occurring, the fire teams on the cruise ship will kind of hop right into action at that time. With the second Bravo call, usually what that means is secondary fire teams are being implemented at that time. So it's a little bit more of a significant event. And then there was a Kilo call, which basically means all crew hands on deck. And that is to kind of make sure areas are secured, places are closed off, passengers are not going into areas that can be dangerous at that time. The fire doors were also closed during this time. Royal Caribbean also closed off certain sections of passenger areas on the 4th floor, on the 5th floor. The fire occurred in the engine room, which is kind of interesting because the Quantum of the Seas just recently had engine maintenance done. And the fire did spread also to the luggage container area where the cruise ship stores the luggage when people come on and off the ships. So it was a relatively significant event, but fortunately, everything was fine. Everything kind of continued from that point forward. A lot of people on the cruise ship said it was probably somewhere around the level 4 event for them versus, if you were to put it on a scale of 1 to 10. I know people who are on this ship right now and said it wasn't too bad. It's kind of going on as expected. The cruise, they stopped in Juneau. Their dinners and stuff are still going on every night and what have you. So I'm not sure if this is going to stop the cruise for next week, but it was a significant event. We'll know more real soon because the next cruise that goes out for Quantum of the Seas is on the 5th. The next story we have is new health protocols, right? There's a lot of changes going on right now with health protocols, especially with testing. And 2 cruise lines have made changes recently this week to their health protocols. Those 2 are Disney and MSC. So both of these cruise lines are going to be getting rid of testing for people who are vaccinated. MSC specifically defines people who are vaccinated of U.S. residency. So I'm not 100% sure what that means. I don't know if you're coming onto a U.S. cruise from a foreign country that you still need to be tested even if you're vaccinated. Please call up MSC to get a good understanding of what this is. Now with MSC, this is starting September 2nd, so it's already started, folks. So if you are a U.S. resident on MSC cruises, leaving the United States, if you're vaccinated, you don't need to be tested anymore. Now at Disney, this is starting a little bit later. This is going to be starting on September 23rd on 4 different ships. The 4 ships that this is going to start on December 23rd are the Disney Dream, the Fantasy, the Wish, and the Wonder. On the Magic, this new testing protocol will start on November 7th. The other change that Disney has done beforehand, if you were unvaccinated, you would need to get 2 pre-cruise tests. One 3 days before you actually go on the ship, and one at the cruise port. They're going to be getting rid of the one at the cruise port. So you're just going to need, if you're unvaccinated, the test 3 days prior. And speaking of Disney, Disney also did a small change that was effective immediately. And this is pretty significant because if you've been holding off of a Disney cruise because of what this kind of event was currently, you might want to think about booking your Disney cruise now, because beforehand, the meet and greets and the autograph sessions were at a socially distanced space. So it was a good separation between you and the characters, or you and your child from the characters, to take pictures, etc. Now, the meet and greets, the character events are going to be like it was before. You can get right next to your character. Your kids could be hugging on Mickey and Minnie. Your kids can also, give a high five to any one of those Marvel characters. Those things are back on the table. Also, autographs are also back on the table. All right, now we're going to go on to NCL. NCL christened the Prima. She is on her first maiden voyage with actual paying passengers. That started on September 3rd. Before the maiden voyage, there was this huge christening event. Katy Perry put on an amazing show, a 2-hour show, and during that show, a polar bear showed up. What? A polar bear, you might ask? Well, it was a special polar bear. It was the Coca-Cola polar bear, which signified a change that NCL is doing. So starting with the Prima, NCL will be serving Coke products, and they'll be rolling out Coke products to the rest of their fleet and should be completed by the end of this year. All right, up next, we have Virgin Voyages announcing a new loyalty program. Now, most loyalty programs that we are familiar with are based upon days, number of days you cruised, and you would get a little bit of a bonus if you happen to be a solar cruiser, or if you happen to be a cruiser that goes in 2 suites, you would get usually twice the amount of points than someone in a regular cabin. Virgin Voyages is doing, instead of days of cruise based upon your cabin category, they're actually basing their loyalty program based upon dollars spent. The final touches on this program will be coming out really soon in 2023, but they did put out I guess you would call it a temporary loyalty plan that you can see on their site. And one of the really cool things that Virgin Voyages did with their loyalty program is they are going to be, awarding or really thanking their early adopters. What Virgin Voyages is going to do is they're going to be giving those people a bar tab that will last for life every single time they book another Virgin Voyages cruise. And that's amazing. So go to their site, especially if you did book a cruise in 2021, and read what they're going to do for you. It's quite amazing. There's also some other special bonuses for people who booked 2 cruises in 2022. Take a look at that. There's a few different things that they're doing. Definitely take a look at Virgin Voyages' pre-outline of their new loyalty program. It might make you book Virgin Voyages again really soon. Another interesting thing that's changing in cruising real soon is on Royal Caribbean. Royal Caribbean just finished up their, they would call a pilot program for Starlink internet. The test program was on Freedom of the Seas, and they said it went really, really well. So well, Royal Caribbean signed a contract with Starlink. That's the Elon Musk company that does internet for rural areas through satellite, but it's not the normal satellite internet that you are used to on cruise ships now or in rural areas. Those were usually provided by a company called Hughes. Now, Hughes has their satellites up in what is known as geosynchronous orbit at a pretty high altitude. And what geosynchronous orbit means is that those satellites kind of are fixed in position at that specific spot because they're at a specific altitude, and it allows the satellite to kind of always be specifically over a specific point over the Earth at all times. So with these high satellites in geosynchronous orbit, it takes some time to get a signal from the Earth all the way up to the satellite, back down to Earth to kind of get the information you want, back up to the satellite, and then back down to you. That's how it worked. With the new Starlink system that Elon Musk has created for the rural areas, and now with cruise ships, we are using something called low Earth orbit satellites. So what low Earth satellites are, it's basically a bunch of satellites that are buzzing around the Earth really, really fast, but you have a lot of them so that when one of them is on the other side of the Earth, some more of them are over you right now. What that does is it reduces the amount of time to get that signal up to the satellite, back down, back up to the satellite, back down to you significantly. And the final story for this week, Carnival has implemented a curfew. Yeah, curfew. But it's not on everybody. It's going to be only on children 17 and under. Basically, if you're 17 and under, and you're not accompanied by adults who are 21 and over, you're going to have to not be in the public areas after 1 a.m. You can also be part of a planned activity with Club O2 or Circle C Teen Club. That's allowed to after 1 a.m. as well. Now, if you are in violation of this rule, you wonder what's going to be the punishment, right? I don't know exactly what the punishment will be. If you're just kind of wandering around, not causing any mischief, you might be just told to kind of, hey, get to your cabin or get to where you need to be or get to your parents and be around them. That might be just what will happen. If you're causing mischief, if you're causing mayhem, the actual punishment might be a little bit more severe. John Heald, the Carnival brand ambassador, did post a little bit about this new protocol change, not a protocol change, this new curfew, I guess you would call it, with the teens on his Facebook site. So he did say that if you're in violation and he didn't specifically say if you're causing mischief, but I'm assuming that unless you're doing something bad, they're not going to kick you off the ship. But if you're doing something bad and it's past 1 a.m., you might be kicked off the ship along with your family, and you're going to have to get back home on your own dime. Now, I kind of like this, right? I don't mind the teenagers so much. Some people do. I just think they're just having fun. They're having a good time. It doesn't bother me too much. If they're causing mischief and mayhem, then that's where they kind of cross the line, right? And I'm glad that giving this curfew, the chances of the mischief makers kind of goes down a little bit. The other thing I really like about this is sometimes young adults can get themselves into trouble, not necessarily on their own accord, but because there's some bad actors that are adults around. I don't want to get heavily into it. There's plenty of stories you can look up on the internet about this type of stuff. But what I think that this helps is it does help these young adults from getting into those type of bad situations from bad actors. So there you have it, folks. Those are all the really important pieces of cruise news and cruise changes that you needed to know for this week. We're talking about the week ending September 4th, 2022. I hope you enjoyed this show. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment down below about any of the stories that were talked about. Are you afraid to go on a cruise ship that just recently had a fire? Are you excited about Coke products now on NCL? Are you excited about the Prima? Are you thinking about not booking a Carnival cruise because of the curfew and your kids are not going to like that? Let us know in the comments down below. Also, think about joining Cruise Seekers. Think about hitting that subscribe button with that little notification bell on. It really helps us. Thanks in advance. So until we talk again next time, folks, this is Rob from Cruise Seekers, reminding every one of you all to seek the seas. Bye now.